I'm going to do one of each problem, and then I'll tell you which ones that you can complete for homework. So I'm going to start with, let's actually start with this harder one. Again, this is the equation. We have to graph this exponential function over here. I'm going to be checking for your table, scaling on the graph, and that your exponential doesn't cross the x-axis and that it's plotted correctly. So remember, we plug in -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Plug it in here, in for x, and you're going to get outputs. You could round these. I actually end up getting repeating decimals, so I'm just going to approximate what they are. The 0 always should be your A term, so that's how you can check to make sure you're doing these right. I'm increasing by 3/4. So here's my x's and y's, I just have to plot those. So I'm going to spread out by 2's, give myself a little space for my x's. My y's I have to get up to 8.8, which I think if I go by 2's, it's too low. If I skip every other, so I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that's as far as I could spread out my graph. And I connect my points. -2 goes to 8.8. -1 goes to 6.6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 5. 1, 1, 2, 3.75. 2, 1, 2.8. Okay, you see here my exponential is decaying. I know it's decaying because my b is less than 1. My y-intercept is 5, so I'm just checking to make sure everything matches up. It should not cross the x-axis. So now that I've done 2, for homework I want you guys to try number 1. Alright, down here, a little bit more. I'm going to give you guys the challenging one. I'm going to do 3, you guys do 4. So this is just asking the y-intercept, and if it's growing or decaying, and explaining why. The y-intercept is A. It's a coordinate, 0, 4. And my b is 7/3. This is greater than 1, so this is a growth. And that's pretty much what I'm asking. Throughout this entire unit, anytime we're decaying, you'll notice that that growth factor is less than 1. So you guys will do number 1 and number 4. Alright, I'm going to do number 6 because it's more complicated. You can tell it's more complicated because there is no 0. The 0 is your A term. So for this entire page, what you're looking for is the equation y equals a times b to the x. You're looking for a and for b. So for b, we have the formula, which you should have memorized for your test. Remember, to find b, it's x2 minus x1, y2 divided by y1. So you pick 2 of the coordinates on the table, label them, make sure x1 is your smallest. So this is going to be my x1, x1, this is x2, y1, y2, and you just plug it in. So it's going to be 4 minus 2 is the index of a radical, 192 divided by 12. Simplify, this is 2. 192 divided by 12 is 16. The square root of 16 is 4, so b is 4. Now to find a, we've actually done this a lot in the word problem, so it should come back to you. You take your equation. We're going to plug in y, b, and x. Now what we do is we have to pick an x and y, so I'm going to pick 2 and 12. Plug in 12 for y, because that's y. A is what we're looking for. B we just found is 4. And x I'm going to plug in as 2. So I have to do 2 squared, which is, 4 squared, which is 16. And divide by 16. And I get a to be 0.75. So to write my equation, I take y equals a times b to the x. Remember, equations always have x. Equations can have inputs and outputs. You leave x as x. Alright, so now that I did that one, you can do 5. It should be easier because the A term is given, so hopefully you all know what that means. What you have to do for number 7 is actually pick 2 coordinates. So I'm going to have you guys do this one for homework. I will pick the coordinates for you though. You always want to pick the y-intercept because that gives away something in the equation you should know. And the next coordinate is where you see it, the line intersect at a perfect crossing, which is actually here. So your two coordinates are 0, 2, and 1, 3. So please write the equation for number 7 for homework. Again, same thing. Remember how repetitive these were. I'm going to go with number 8 to show you, because it is a decay, so I'm going to show you how that works. So you label it x1, y1, x2, y2. You do the formula for b, x2 minus x1, y2 divided by y1, and you end up getting the third root of 0.01565. And if you actually put that in the calculator, remember it's 3 second caret, and then you plug that number in, you're going to get 1/4, or 0.25. We still have to find a, so what you have to do is pick a coordinate, plug that in for x and y, plug in your b. Y equals a times b to the x. So we're going to plug in 96 equals a. We're going to plug in our b. The x that I picked is 3. And you should be able to solve this. So for homework, I would like you to finish this one. And do number 9. You should see number 9 is a little bit easier. So again, you're finishing this one and finishing number 9. All right, one of each word problem. So I'm going to do a percent problem. I'm going to do a problem where you just get a growth factor. Compound interest, half-life. I'm also going to do one where you don't have the percent, but it is a percent problem. Okay. Number 15. Obviously this is a percent problem, we see it right here. Always look for the word increase or decrease. Move your decimal place over twice to the left. I like to do that right in my problem. So my A is 30. My R is 1.12 after I moved it over twice. I am increasing, and I want to know after 3 weeks, which this is a daily growth. It grows per day, so I actually have to convert 3 weeks. How many days is that? Hopefully you know there's 7 days in a week, 21 days. So when I plug this in, y equals 31 plus 1.12 to the 21. And you plug that in, and you should get how many people there are. So that seems like a large amount, but that's actually how many they have served to date. How many people have come into the restaurant. Alright, so if I did 15, I'd like you guys to do 18. It's a little bit different than what we did, but it still has a percent. It's increasing. So I'd like you to do 18. Okay. I'm going to do 17. 17 does not have a percent, so that's the first thing you look at. So this is not a percent problem. It doesn't have the word half-life in it, so it's not a half-life problem. And it's not compound interest, so that leaves us with y equals a times b to the x. So you have to find your starting amount, you have to find your pattern, you have to find your x, and it could possibly be an interval, so look after the word every. So you start a vegetable garden with 10 plants. It doubles, but you double every 3 years. So that means I have an interval. Again, after the word every, if there's a number, you have an interval. So I'm dividing whatever x is by 3, and it has to be in years. So from 2016 to 2031, how many years are there? There are 15 years. So you'll plug this in and you'll get how many plants you're going to have at the end. So this is not only a growth problem, it's doubling, it also has an interval. So again, intervals can happen at any problem. After the word every, if there's a number, it will be an interval. So you'll divide your x by that number. Okay. Next problem I'm going to do is 19, a half-life problem. You guys worked on these in class, so you should be good. Look for your starting amount. B is always 1/2. look for the half-life, it's always after the word half-life. And look for what you have to plug in. So I'm plugging in for 10 weeks, but half-life is in days, so you have to convert it. You cannot plug these in at the same time. This is days, this is weeks. So 10 weeks is how many days? Once you convert it, you're ready to plug it into the formula. Okay, plug that in, get your final answer. Now, if in half-life it's ever asking for the original amount, that means you're looking for A, and the amount they give you is your Y, and that can happen. So always look to see if they're asking for how much remains. Remaining is Y. If it asks you for the original, that's A. The next one is compound interest. I think the only thing you guys really have to study for compound interest is what N could be: annually, semi-annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. You have to memorize those numbers. For this one, my starting amount, my rate, I'm going to move my decimal place over twice. It is semi-annually, so you should know my N is 2, and I'm keeping it in there for 12 years. So plug this into your formula. The formula should be memorized, hopefully, at this point. And you should get 23,543.84. Okay, so for 21, there is a formula for this type of problem. It doesn't give you a percent, it doesn't give you a pattern, it doesn't give you a half-life. It just gives you a starting amount and a final amount. So remember, there's a formula for finding the percent. So this would be an extra point. This is your initial, this is your final. So you remember the formula? Final minus initial divided by initial. When you plug this in, you do have to put parentheses there if you're going to do it in one step. That'll give you your rate, and then you can plug that rate in. So I'd like you guys to finish this problem in class. I'm sorry, for homework. Okay, so you have enough problems for homework. I did one of each type. Good luck, and come tomorrow to class with questions.